I have to tell you guys about a dream that I had a long time ago because I feel like it's about to happen. So basically, how it started was I was in a vehicle and I was driving around the city that I live in, and it was completely dark. The vehicle that I was in was like my real car, a small sedan, blue, right? So I'm in this vehicle driving around, and I get to my aunt's house. She lives in the nice on the nice side of town. And the moon's full. It's not really windy night, but it's just completely pitch black, dark out, right? So I walk up to my aunt's house and I knock on the door and I look around and I realize that there's literally nobody here. And as I'm walking down the sidewalk, I realize that I'm literally the only guy in the city. And I don't know how, but somehow it was communicated to me by God telepathically, not a literal voice in the dream, that some major war had popped off and that there was no men in the city, right? So as I get told this telepathically, I head back to my car. And when I'm in my car, I'm holding a baby. And while I'm holding this baby, I look over and this girl that I know that's in the army appears in the driver's seat. And she's holding a baby as well. And I don't know if that was God showing me that this has to do with war, because I don't really think that this girl was, specifically means that she was going to stay behind with me. I think it was more symbolic because she was in her uniform. And me and this girl were driving around the entire city holding these babies, realizing that we had a big burden to take care of these babies and that there was no men left in the town. And somehow I had the privilege of not being sent off to war, but that meant that I had this huge responsibility to take care of these babies. And this girl that was with me was completely silent. She wasn't speaking like she normally does. She wasn't talkative. She was stern and she was firm. And remember, she was in her uniform. So fast forward and I forget about this dream, right? Well, today, my cousin, who is a huge Roblox nerd and really doesn't care about the kind of stuff, this kind of content, doesn't really watch like apocalypse, end of the world movies. He just cares about Roblox, right? And he designs software and all this. Anyways, he tells me that he has this dream where he sees me in the city that I'm in. Mind you, he lives in Omaha. I'm in a different city. He says that he sees me and we're standing outside of this care center, which is like a boys and girls home or a Crittenden center, which is basically a school for troubled kids, right? And he says that we're standing there and then these guys that are overweight come with, you know what, boomsticks, and they try to attack us. Well, he says that me and him are standing there fighting them and somehow they're chasing us, but I think he said that we get their boomsticks away from those guys and we end up winning this engagement, right? Well, he says that as we're running down the streets, he notices that he sees our family and that there's literally no men in the family left, and that there's no men left to protect the women. There's no men left to protect the kids, the girls, nothing. And that it's just me and him. And as soon as I heard that, I instantly thought of the dream that I just told you guys about. And the reason that I'm telling you this, guys, is because I don't know why, but I feel it in my spirit that they are about to pull a draft over the entire United States when this war with Iran kicks off. You have literally seen nothing, bro. And I'm telling you that I genuinely believe that a draft is coming. Whatever happens, do not believe their lies and do not sign up to fight these wars, guys.
We were just talking about that in the last video, but I want to say shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. I have actually another video too. I'm going to play at the end of the segment, but it says man shares a vision of shortage during World War III. That's the last video we went into them reinstating the draft because find out this article that I have here. It says Pentagon is moving additional Marine warships to the Middle East, which is in tandem with the next video I'm going to play because that's a suicide mission. Okay, going back into wars like the Iraqi war, Desert Storm, when those troops had the probability to assemble without any imminent threat. It's a different story than today as far as you touching down on grounds in the Middle East, whether you want to regroup in Israel or you want to in Iraq or whatever it may be. The Iranians have the capability of hitting anywhere in what they perceive the Middle East. So once radar detects that the United States Marines are on foot or touching down, they're going to shoot them out the sky. So regardless of it, it's a suicide mission. But he mentioned that there's going to be a shortage of men because, hey, the men are going to die in war. And the scriptures goes into that. So it says here, President Trump said Iranians aren't likely to rise up soon against the regime. All 6 members were killed after the American refueling plane crashed in Iraq, which it's more than 6 service members that were killed. Okay, allegedly they captured like 200 some plus. And there's a couple of different numbers out there in circulation from 150 to 200 so-called Delta Force members that got captured by the Iranian regime. And the fact that these drone strikes are hitting in random places in what they call the Middle East, from Tel Aviv to Dimona, Tehran is getting scorched, different places. They're shooting in NATO nations and so forth. You better believe that there's a lot of casualties, all right, and they're downplaying it. But like we mentioned, there's going to be a draft that they will have to institute because there's going to be a shortage of men and they need bodies. Okay, and remember, you heard it here first. The men of the Lord, the men of the great millstone, the men of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai have told you that there will be a draft. Okay, so all these Johnny come latelys and all this other stuff that's talking madness about, there's going to be a draft, this, and the Professor Jiang. Look, man, the apostles have been saying that shit for 30 years. And those of us that's been on YouTube the last decade or so, we've all been saying that. Okay, so you can't take credit. The Lord has bestowed the Spirit upon the men to speak these things before they come to pass, and we're speaking into existence, and here we are. But it says Pentagon is moving a Marine expeditionary unit and more warships to the Middle East as Iran steps up its attack to the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, that's causing economic instability, and a lot of this shit is done systematically. They know what they're doing because, see, they're on par to get a global world order going under a digital system. So a lot of this war in the perceived Middle East is actually being it's deliberate, from the closing of the Strait of Hormuz to the alleged attacks on American soil to the war with the Iranians. It's all set up that way because they need to bring about a global world order. All these talking leaders and heads are all in league. They say the world is a big stage. But it says, as Iranians step up attacks in the Strait of Hormuz, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has approved the request from CENTCOM for an element of ambitious ready group and attached Marine expeditionary unit, typically consisting of several warships and 5,000 Marines, according to 3 U.S. officials. It says President Trump said it is unlikely Iranians will rise up soon against the regime, and that he will feel it in my bones when the Iran war shall end, which is going to be an ongoing war. It says all 6 crew members aboard the KC-135 refueling aircraft went down in western Iraq on Thursday have died, according to U.S. Central Command, and 13 service members have been killed in action doing Operation Epic Fury, according to the military, which that's a lie, more like the hundreds. So anyway, I think you got to create an account for this, so I don't have to read it all. But the fact that they're moving additional Marines there, and it aligns with the scriptures. Okay, but nonetheless, this guy said he was the only man in the city, and that's actually biblical, because we know that once the attacks happen here, and once the men of the Lord get endowed with that power, once the drive comes, there's going to be a lot of moving parts at once. And the men of the Lord, we're going to be the creme de la creme in the coming time. Okay, so you brothers, man, embrace and lock in, because things are going to turn around quick, seemingly overnight, when the Most High starts to make moves, man. Okay, you can go from being an alleged nobody to somebody, according to these people, in a day. So just be prepared, because these women, your exes, your family members, sisters, whatever, daughters, they're going to start trying to get in contact with you, and they're going to try to see what's up. But the Spirit of the Lord is going to be with us to keep us grounded. All right. And remember, you don't owe these women a damn thing. You don't owe a woman's child a damn thing. You don't owe these women a damn thing. Your debt is to be paid to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai first and foremost, and that's it. Everything else can go kick rocks, bro. Okay? So let's get a precept here. This is Isaiah 3, and I'm going to start at verses 25. It says, and thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty men in the war. Yeah, what wars is it talking about? First and foremost, we know that Drabs can institute civil war, you know, and then them being sent out to the Middle East, and also civil war in America, regional wars, class wars, race wars, economic wars, etc. You name it. These men are going to fall. These weak, docile simps, these beta males, even some of these so-called alpha males that put these women on a pedestal, you know, the one who your woman got the options for, you ain't going to have no options in a little while because these men are going to die. Okay, 90%, I say 95% of the men in America outside the elect is going to die. Matter of fact, I'll say 99% because you only have a percentage of the elect men here. Okay, when I say elect men, I'm talking about the 144 and the 1/3 remnant. Okay, because that's still a small number compared to the masses of the people. So a good 95% of you men are going to be put to death. All right. A lot of you going to get shipped over to the East or to Western Asia or the Middle East. A lot of you going to die right here in America when these attacks come and when a famine come, because all these things go hand in hand. Okay, economic collapse, famines, pestilence, civil unrest, you name it. And our gates should lament and mourn, and she should be desolate and should be sit upon the ground. So all of this, I don't need a man talk. Okay, you getting ready to change that tune real quick, because when they get to screaming draft, and they grab a lot of you people up, that's when a lot of you people are going to realize, like, hey, yeah, this is getting real. All right, brother. So embrace, man. It's going to get real. Isaiah 4:1 is going to come rolling in hard. And you're going to have to fight a lot of these demons off, because a lot of them don't have no good intention for us, man. Okay, they just want to capitalize on a protection that the Heavenly Father is going to bestow upon us, because they're going to want to be protected in that day. But if Babylon could be reassembled and come back to its ancient glory days, these bitches will skip out on you in a whim. Okay, they only going to get with the program because they don't have no choice. Because if they was with it, they'd be with the program right now. All right. Isaiah 32:2, and it says, and a man should be as a hiding place from the wind, and as a cover from the tempest, as the rivers of water in a dry place, as a shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Right. Okay. Men of the standards of Yahweh Bashim Hawashai. Okay. Not podcast gurus, not super duper Israelites, not fighters. Okay. Not gunslingers. None of those men, even though the men of the Lord have those attributes. But the Most High is dealing with his men. All right. The so-called high value man in the society that gets put on a pedestal, the one that 90% of the women are sleeping with. Because, you know, only 20% of the men are sleeping, bagging 80% of the women. Those men are going to be destroyed, man. Okay, these basketball player, elite college dudes, man, these tall niggas that go to the club, you know, with the muscles, they all going to be done away with. All right, and they're going to have to be forced to get with your program, or they're going to get left behind. And it says, in the eyes of them that see him should not be dim, and the ears of them that should hear shall hearken. So they're going to hearken to the words of the men of the Lord, because they're not going to have no choice. And they're going to realize this is the program they should have been on since day one. But for majority of you, it's already too late. But nice try. Okay. Next video. Brother said these men need to be put away. Don't worry, they will be put away. Most time I drop these two clowns, but they're going to be put away real soon. They ain't going to be out around too much longer. Believe that. Anyway, next video. Fair use.
What we're witnessing right now is the fact that, you know, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said the other day he's been waiting 40 years to launch this attack. And he finally found an American president in Donald Trump who was stupid enough and reckless.
Yeah, crash dummy. A dummy. Blackmail this stupid ass. Now look at he's in a war that he know he ain't gonna win. He's gaslighting the public.
Enough to do it. The Trump administration has no plan. They've never had a plan. Their rationales shift day to day. They have no end game. What we're witnessing here is an administration that has put American lives at risk. We've lost 7 service members, many more wounded, many civilians killed, Iranian civilians, including school kids. And they can't tell the American people what this is all about. This is making our country less safe. They've taken the lid off Pandora's box and unleashed forces that they have no plan to deal with.
The Iranian government...
It makes sense, though, why to DHS, you know, to combat terrorism and all this other stuff. Hey, they ain't got the funding. We're still impartial. So all these attacks that they're talking about soliciting on the United States soil from drone attacks in L.A., from Iranian drones, hey, there it go. They have no way to deal with that. Seems like the defense systems were let down intentionally, from my humble opinion. You know, seems like they allowed this to happen. Kept the government shut down partially. Now all of a sudden, now they're getting threats on their soil from alleged sleeper cells.
Wants to be paid for all the damages that the United States and Israel have done. So the Strait of Hormuz will be closed for some time until some sort of an economic, financial solution is achieved. The days of everybody enjoying cheap oil and Iranians suffering under sanctions, those are over. The new leadership in Iran is not going to accept that type of setting. They have these attacks have resulted in billions of dollars worth of damage in Iran. Iranians will get every single cent out of that damage for that damage before they open the Strait of Hormuz.
No, the good news is we can't do it. I mean, it's just the good news. Pete Hegseth can sit there and, take his testosterone and, go lift weights and then come out and stare in the mirror at his chiseled Christian Crusader cross-bearing chest and say, we can do this. But even the generals that lie to themselves will say, we can't do this. It will take hundreds of thousands of troops that we don't have. We literally don't have them. It would take logistical sustainability factors that we no longer possess. And it would take a geopolitical reality that has long since passed. We deployed 750,000 troops into the Gulf during Desert Storm. But we did so because the Iraqis didn't oppose our position of the troops. We landed at ports that were not under attack. We landed at airports that weren't under attack. We were able to assemble without any opposition and then move up to the battlefront and shape our forces without being taken. If we try to land anywhere, those airfields will be struck by Iranian drones and missiles.
Right. So even if they touch down, they're going to get struck. So it's a lose-lose.
There's no place in the Middle East Iran can't strike, and they've proven that point. There's no port they can't shut down. And how do we get in? I mean, we'd have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. We'd be sunk. Or we have to land our troops, in Israel, move them to Jordan, and then assemble them in Western Iraq, build a logistics base in Western Iraq, which would be hit by Iranian missiles, and then seek to project power through Iraq while the Iraqi people were sitting there letting this happen? No. Saudi Arabia, we land in Western Saudi Arabia, on the same coast that Mecca Medina is. So the Saudis will never object to that. They've never once objected to hundreds of thousands of Americans landing on the soil of Mecca Medina. And then we're supposed to build up. And then what? We go through Kuwait into Iran. The Iraqis tried that once. You sort of punch into a vase and then you punch into this empty bag and then you get trapped, sucked in, and you die. And I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face, and I'll say it again, but because people need to understand, war doesn't just happen. It just doesn't just happen. It is an art. It is a science. You have to be prepared to do this. Now, today, we're not trained to do any of that. Nothing. We're going to pull the one unit that could do that, 82nd Airborne, light infantry. And we're going to send them against Iran. I don't mean to laugh, but I'm sorry, paratroopers. You ain't that good. You're really not that good. You can bench press 315 pounds, but you sure as hell can't fight the Iranians on the ground in Iran. They will wipe you out to a man because you've got no sustainability. Where's your heavy weapons? Where's your reinforcement? What happens when you parachute in? All you tough guys that bench press 315 pounds, because Pete Head says that's the motto we want. And you run out of ammunition. And now you're in the middle of Iran, out of ammunition, and the Iranians are coming out of the woodwork, you're going to die. Maybe they take you prisoner because they are, after all, humane. So they might take you prisoner. They might not, though, because you've been blowing up their homes, killing their mothers, killing their sisters, killing their brothers, killing their cousins. They might just shoot you on the spot. That's what will happen if we send ground forces in there. We have no chance whatsoever to defeat the Iranians at all. They've been preparing for this fight for 20 years. For 20 years, they've been preparing for this fight. So there will be no ground forces going in. That's just Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth snorting cocaine, smoking dope, or whatever, psychotropic drug they're taking to fantasize this war game that they're playing in their heads. We will not send ground troops into Iran because we can't.
Well, Pentagon is moving additional Marines warships to the Middle East. So we'll see about that. This is the Lord's plan, bro. And nothing you people can do about it. 2nd Ezra 16 and 1, it says, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. It says, gird up yourselves with cloths of sack of hair and bewail your children. And be sorry, for your destruction is in hand. Okay? It says, a sword is sent among you, and who may turn it back? It says, a fire sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and who is he that may drive them away? So, you going down there, man. And we're seeing it play out. Okay, let's go down to verses 18. It says, and I'm going to jump a little bit. It says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, and the beginning of famine and great death. It's going to be great death in this coming war. Even here in America, on the soils when these cities start to get hit, it says the beginning of wars and the powers that should stand in fear in the beginning of evils. What should I do when these evils come? And that's an honest question. It's like, damn, what are we going to do? But the answer to that is have faith in Yahweh Shimi Hawashai. And that's good as I can tell you. All right, because how the Most High is going to move us around through these days, hey, we just got to wait and see. Because the standard would definitely have to be lifted up. And that's going to happen when it needs to happen. But it reads here, it says, behold, victuals should be so good, cheap upon earth, that they should think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth. Sword, which is war, famine, and great confusion, because gas now is damn $3.30. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the others that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the dead should be cast out as dung, and there should be no man left to comfort them. For the earth should be wasted, and all the cities should be casted down. So going back into that vision that guy had, he said that there was no alive men left because everybody was shipped out to fight the war in Iran. So that leaves Isaiah 4:1, because women are going to be afraid, things are going to be happening, and they're going to need some type of protection to cling unto. But a great deal of you will be rejected because, you just wasn't really with us until you needed to be, or until you wanted to be, or needed to be. It says, there shall no man be left to till the earth and to sow it, because there's no going to be no public works, no city, state workers, cutting grass, trimming trees, spraying pesticides, patching your potholes, okay? Tending to your parks, your recreation. That stuff is going to be shut down in a minute. It says, and the trees should give fruit, and who should gather them? It says, the grapes should ripen, and who should tread them? For all places should be desolate of men. So in a city that had a population of 2 million, you maybe a couple 100,000 left, if that. And that's small compared to a city as big as Chicago or New York, And it says, so that one should desire to see another and to hear his voice. For of a city there should be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. Yeah, because men are going to be afraid. Okay, they're going to be on the prowl and hiding from martial law troops, because there will be martial law declared on the streets of America too, especially when attacks happen. Civil unrest and draft, and that gives them even more reason to reinstate a draft, because if they blame the attack in America on Iranians, they can say, well, look, we need more forces. This is a reason that we got to put boots on the ground in Iran. And we know draft will bring about some type of a civil war, which will institute martial law. And on top of that, an economic collapse. So it's a lot that's going to be happening. And it says, so that one man should desire to see another and to hear his voice. For of a city there should be 10 left, and that's what that guy had in the vision. And 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. And as in an orchard of olives, upon every tree there are 3 or 4 olives. Whereas a vineyard is gathered, there are left some clusters of them that diligently seek through the vineyard. Even so, in those days, there should be 3 or 4 left by them that should search their houses with the sword. And the earth should be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man should travel therethrough. I call that the Last of Us, or the I Am Legend scripture. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, and the women shall mourn, having no husbands, and their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Why? Because they're going to die in these wars. And in the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. And it's crazy how the Heavenly Father is giving guys visions that never even heard of the Apocrypha. All right? And it says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold, the word of the Lord, receive it, believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. But behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son. 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compares her womb, which pains when a child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. So these contraction pains are going to get more intense. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. Okay? So, hey, get ready, brothers. You know, let's watch this thing. May that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai protect us and be with us in these times. Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Abba. Shalom.